Over the past 9 days, 600 athletes with physical disabilities from 46 countries have fought and competed fearlessly in Beijing. They have demonstrated the fighting spirit that has touched audiences around the world, and their spirit include courage, bravery, and equality, and they have shown us their dignity, their perseverance, and persistence. The Paralympic Winter Games in Beijing sent hope and confidence to the world, and it will be remembered by the Olympic movement. As a host to these games, China always adheres to the principles of hosting green, economical, and fantastic games. With the efforts from all sides, China overcome the challenges brought by COVID-19. We have engaged in hosting a successful game despite the COVID-19 challenges, and we fulfilled the promise of hosting both games. We presented a splendid, fantastic, and simple games to the world. We have sent a signal to the whole world that together we can march towards the future. In the Paralympic Games, the Chinese delegation, with an average age of 25 years old, ranked on top of the medal board. And this is the best results of the Chinese delegation in the history of its participation in Olympic Winter Games. The Paralympic Winter Games in Beijing has supported the winter sports for PWDs, athletes in China. It has also promoted the protection of the rights and interests of PWDs in China. It demonstrated China's advantage in social system and also showcased China's achievement made in human rights and also social development. Looking into the future, China will continue working together with the international community to advance China will work with all relevant sides to make even greater contribution to the protection of the rights of persons with disabilities. Next question, please.
U.S. officials say that Russia has asked China for military assistance for its war in Ukraine. Can you confirm this report? And if accurate, what has been China's response to the request? And finally, what are China's plans to provide support to Russia in the future, including economic support? Thank you.
Recently, on the Ukraine issue, the United States has been spreading disinformation, and this is very dangerous, and China is hosting a consistent and clear position on the Ukraine issue. We have always been playing a constructive role in peaceful negotiations, and what's most important at present is that all sides can maintain restraints, mitigate the situation instead of adding fuel to the fire. We need to advance a diplomatic resolution of the situation instead of further escalating the situation. Next question, please. I'm with Phoenix TV. According to reports, Taiwan has signed a bill with the United States worthy of 69.9 billion Taiwan dollar. And what is your comment on this? The United States selling weaponry to Chinese Taiwan is a violation to the One China principle and the three joint Chinese-U.S. communiques, and this is a severe violation of China's sovereignty and territorial integrity, and China stands firmly against such moves. The United States should carefully observe the One China principle and the three joint Sino-U.S. communiques. It should stop selling weapons to Taiwan. Next question, please. I'm with China News Agency. China Internet Emergency Handling Center recently said that since the end of February, Chinese cyberspace has been attacked, and also Belarus, Russia, and Ukraine network have also been attacked. According to their release, most of the attackers come from the United States, and 80% of the targets are focused in the cyberspace of Russia. What is your reading on that? Well, this information shows that the United States is a cyber attacker, and China strongly opposes the United States in launching cyber attacks to other countries with China as the springboard. And this again shows that China is the target of a lot of the hackers across the world. In the face of the Ukraine crisis, those actions may help fuel disinformation and escalate the tension. And we have noted that former White House official recently encouraged launching cyber attacks against Russia. We don't know what kind of role the United States government played, but these actions are somewhat connected to the usual standpoint of the United States in launching cyber attacks against China. China calls for the United States to take a responsible stance and stop such malicious cyber activities. And with the paper, according to news from the United States, the Congress has passed a bill to stop the use of maps marking Taiwan. And what is your comment on that? The world has but one China, and Taiwan is part of China, and this is the reality. This is the true picture from ancient times, and this is also widely recognized from around the world. All the maps released must follow such reality, and the United States has very brutally attacked China's internal affairs. It wants to hype up the issue through maps related regarding Taiwan, and China expresses our strong opposition to such action. Let me tell the U.S. side that playing the card of Taiwan is just like playing fire. It will push Taiwan into a more dangerous situation, and on the other hand, it will also backfire against the United States. The United States should stop manipulating this one China policy, and it should stop supporting the separatist activities in Taiwan, and it should come back to the right trajectory of one China policy, and also honor its commitment made to the Chinese side, and maintain the stability across the Taiwan Straits, and also maintain the general landscape of China-U.S. relations. Next question, please. I'm with China Daily. Japanese Prime Minister recently said that deploying nuclear weapons around Japan and also in international waters near Japan is not an issue that we need to discuss. And what is your reading of this? Thank you. Well, China always believes that the country of Japan is a signatory to the Non-Proliferation Treaty. It should honor its international obligation of nuclear non-proliferation. China opposes the deployment of nuclear weapons on others' territories, and because of historic reasons, the moves of Japan in military is of high concern to us. In recent years, in Japan, there has been some very dangerous voices in nuclear proliferation, and this is causing the concern of its neighbors and also some Asian countries, and we are worried that whether Japan would stick to a peaceful path of development. We hope that Japan can be very careful in what it says and what it does, and also take a responsible stance in issues related to regional peace and prosperity.
Do you have any further details on the meeting today between Yang Jiechi and Beijing? At what time exactly will the meeting take place in Rome? Thank you.
中方已经发布了相关的消息。
China has already released the information, and if there is any further updates, we will keep you posted. Next question, please. I'm with the Xinhua News Agency. On March the 11th, the UN General Assembly convened a meeting on biosecurity. Some are saying that China is actually supporting Russia in this regard. And what is your comment on this? In Ukraine, the biomilitary activities have caught the attention of the whole world, according to information publicly disclosed. Within Ukraine, dozens of biolabs are running under the support of the U.S. Ministry of Defense. The U.S. has invested more than $200 million. The purpose of those experiments aimed at establishing a mechanism for bio and lethal pathogens. In Ukraine, we have identified more than 30 biolabs affiliated to the United States. Relevant programs have been demolished and dismantled, but we have identified some marks and signs of pathogens of plague. U.S. Under Secretary General Newland has publicly said that there are some key information, and we need to take actions to prevent it from falling within the hands of Russia. The United States has been lying. It's hiding from the U.S. general public of the real agenda of these activities. The WHO already requested the Ukraine to dismantle those highly dangerous pathogens. Given the footages, photos, and texts regarding those labs that Russia identified in Ukraine, the U.S. is putting a cap of disinformation, and this is not acceptable. If the United States believe it's mis or disinformation, then why not publish the real and authentic information to prove it's innocent? The U.S. has invested more than $200 million. Where is the money spent? And what pathogens are currently under research, and what kind of research were conducted? On the official website, all the relevant documents were deleted. And what are they hiding from? Why does the U.S. refused to join the multilateral framework of banning bio-experiments, why not open those laboratories for international and independent investigation? Next question, please.
Good afternoon, question from AFP. Just to follow up on the earlier question about reports that Russia has requested for support from China. Has China received any Russian requests for help in the war in Ukraine so far? Will China consider giving Russia assistance in this war?
Well, answering the question from Bloomberg, I already made it clear that the information published from the U.S. is disinformation. China has made it very clear of its position in developing China-Russian relations. Next question, please.
Just mentioned about this accusation that the US has been destroying or deleting documents on its website regarding these biolabs. I checked, they all seem to be there. Has the foreign ministry had a look at the website for the US embassy in Ukraine? Because they seem to be there.
Can you repeat your question? Are you saying that the information on the website is not deleted?
As far as I can see, they're all there, all the documents. I mean, you can have a look on the website. I can give you the URL. They all seem to be there.
Well, the information that I have obtained is different from yours, it seems. The information that I have was about those documents related to those biolabs, and they have been deleted by the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine. I'm with Phoenix TV. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan recently said that China learned that there was a intention of Russian invasion, but was not made clear of the specific agenda of Russia. Is that the situation? And is China looking into providing military or economic support to the Russians? And what is your comment on this? Well, China's position on the Ukraine issue has been clear and consistent. China is following the principle of objectivity and impartiality, and we are looking at the issue and making our views impartially, independently, and objectively on this Ukraine issue. Any attempts that smear China's position or send information or disinformation about China, and they are not acceptable and they are not moral either. Sanction is never an effective way of solving problems. China is opposed to any unilateral sanctions from the U.S. or its long-arm jurisdiction measures, and China will try its utmost to protect the legal rights and interests of its individuals and properties in Ukraine.
Can I ask if President Xi has any plans to speak again with President Putin, and what exactly is the Chinese government doing to play this constructive role in peace talks? Thank you.
方已经多次介绍，
Well, China has
有关中方在
said
劝和促谈
on many
所做的
different occasions its own efforts made
两国
in
领导人
facilitating peaceful negotiations.
的安排。
As for arrangement between leaders summit, I don't have any information to disclose. Next question, please.
后面那位男记者，
Question from Associated Press of Pakistan. Pakistan has protested and condemned last week violation of its airspace by a supersonic flying object of Indian origin. Pakistan has also called for a thorough and transparent investigation into the incident, which reflected India's disregard to the air safety and peace and security in the region. As a major country in the region, what is China's response, please?
中方注意到了有关的消息，
Well, China has taken note of relevant reports between Pakistan and India. I should say they are both important countries of South Asia, and they both shoulder the responsibility of safeguarding regional peace and stability. China calls on relevant countries to engage in dialogue and communication to investigate into the situation, strengthen information sharing, and establish a
此类事件不再
mechanism of communication to ensure that this kind of incident does not happen in the future so that we can also avoid miscalculation and misjudgment. Next question, please.
慢新闻记者提问。
I'm with
到俄罗斯7日发布的
Japan,
国际
and we
地的
noted that
包括台湾之内，
Taiwan is included
中方怎么
in the unfriendly
俄罗斯这
country or region list released by
行动的话，
Russia.
回应？谢谢。
What response measures does China have if Russia takes some countermeasures against
台
Taiwan?
湾地区为什么被列入这个清单？
As for why Taiwan region was listed on that unfriendly region list,
如果被制裁，
I think we all have an answer in our mind. If Taiwan gets sanctioned or gets revenged, then
Thank you.
they deserve it.
So, Japanese Prime Minister said on Monday that situation in Ukraine and Russia's actions point out the necessity of reforming the United Nations Security Council. What's China's comment? Thank you.
请你重复一下你的问题。
Can I ask you to repeat your question?
So, the Japanese Prime Minister said on Monday that the situation in Ukraine and Russia's actions point out the necessity of reforming the United Nations Security Council. What's China's comment?
中方在有关安理会改革方面
With respect to the reform of UN Security Council, China holds a consistent and clear-cut position.
日方
China does not align its position with that of Japan.
当美国非法入侵伊拉克的时候，
When the United States invaded Iraq,
非法
when the U.S.
前南斯拉夫的时候，
illegally occupied the former
这
Yugoslavia,
样的表态呢？
were there any similar statements from Japan? Next question.
Just to go back to the UN Security Council meeting, I believe it was on Friday evening. The UN representative during the council meeting said that the UN is not aware of any biological weapons in Ukraine. Does China have a position on the UN's response or UN statement on the biological weapons situation? Thank you.
我们也注意到了联合国方面有关的表态。
We have also taken note of the
国际社
statement
会
released by the
对
UN.
美国的生物军事活动
The biomilitary activities conducted by the US has caught the attention of the whole international community. And that's why
在呼吁
China has been calling on the US
公布
to
在境内外的
disclose
活动，
its biomilitary activities both within the US and across the world. And that also
还有在境外的
includes St. Patrick, and also the 336 biolabs
有关
it has
细节的原因。
outside the US.
国际社会对美国的有关活动
The international community is concerned about the biomilitary activities of the US, and the US should not
再做违反
engage in
国际
activities
武器
that
的
violate international treaties. In this regard,
回应
the US
关切
should immediately respond to the concerns of the international community. Thank you.
后面那位记者。
Next question, please.
谢谢议员的提问。为了乌克兰局势，中方表明将发挥积极作用。
Well, China said that it will play a constructive role on the Ukraine crisis. In Rome, Italy, US and Chinese officials just met, and what constructive proposals was made by China? Thank you.
刚才我就有关的问题做出了回答。
When I was addressing a earlier question, I already answered this question.
发布
China will publish
我可以
relevant information
乌克兰局势
on a later date, but I can tell you that the
是这次
Ukraine crisis was touched upon, and it was a key issue on the agenda of that meeting. Thank you. Next question, please.
Question on the matter of these documents. Given that there is so much misinformation going around about the war, you mentioned that these documents being deleted. You actually also spoke about this on Twitter on the weekend, so did the Assistant Minister Hua Chunying. Would you endeavour to at least to check now, have a look at the US website, the US Embassy website, and see if those documents are there? And if it turns out that they've not been deleted, perhaps correct the record on Twitter and here at the Foreign Ministry?
我刚才已经表明了中方的立场。下一个。
I said it's very clear just now already. Thank you. Next question, please.
请你接着提问。
You wanna
Just to follow up.
follow up?
From one of these documents, which, as I say, is there, just read it out to you. In Ukraine are to consolidate and secure pathogens and toxins of security concern, and to continue to ensure Ukraine can detect and report outbreaks caused by dangerous pathogens before they pose security or stability threats. The whole program, according to these documents, does not seem to have anything to do with weapons, but more of securing dangerous pathogens. Can you see the distinction between the two? There seems to be some misunderstanding internationally as to what constitutes a weapons program and what constitutes a program of securing pathogens. I mean, many countries, including China, have research facilities. We all know countries have these things. Often or usually they have nothing to do with weapons or war. Could it be that these facilities have absolutely nothing to do with weapons in Ukraine? And could you explain this distinction as the Chinese government sees?
I understand your question. You said the U.S. has been seeing that these are research facilities. I can tell you that the U.S. has been contradicting itself, and it's quite confusing. According to 2005, a treaty signed between the U.S. and Department of Defense and Ukraine. The United States has all the right to access and engage in all the activities, and the Ukraine does not have the right to disclose any of those information. In 2015, the United States submitted a document to the United Nations Conference on prohibiting bioweapons. The U.S. has a couple of biomilitary labs in Ukraine. So we have to ask the question, how many research personnel were sent or dispatched by the U.S. to Ukraine, and how many such facilities are there in the Ukraine, and what are the sensitive information that are not allowed to be disclosed? Does Ukraine know what exactly the U.S. is doing in its country? If the information released by the U.S. is contradicting itself, and if there are suspicions from the information itself, and then where does U.S. How does U.S. put itself in a position of requesting all sides to observing international treaties in this regard? And bearing in mind that the U.S. is the only country that opposes to the establishment of an investigatory framework on bioweapons. So that is adding to the suspicion the international community has on U.S. Over the years, the U.S. has been accusing others not following the treaty, and it says that it should investigate, and then it also launched sanctions and even wars against other countries. But when the U.S. becomes the center of spotlight, how come it can get rid of the investigation and then simply say that it's following the rules and treaties and let go of itself? And this is the typical double standards game played by the United States, and it will not win the trust of the international community if it continues to play such game. And we hope that the U.S. can take a responsible stance and clarify its activities in Ukraine and stop opposing the establishment of an investigatory framework on bioweapons, and this will help the U.S. to gain trust from around the world. It will also help improve the international biological security. Next question, please.
Another question. You said that there are 26 labs the U.S. has in Ukraine. Again, according to the documents on the U.S. Embassy website about this pathogen research, these are actually Ukrainian labs that the U.S. is just assisting with. Why does the Chinese government believe that they are U.S. labs rather than Ukrainian labs, which the U.S. is assisting with?
I think you got my message loud and clear. And I said that the U.S. has provided more than $200 million, and that's from the Department of Defense. I also quoted an agreement signed between the U.S. and Ukraine, according to which the representative of the Department of Defense from the U.S. has the right to engage in all sorts of activities in Ukraine, and the Ukraine does not have the right to disclose sensitive information designated by the U.S. Well, don't
美国
try
克兰使馆网站的有关信息。你如果
don't you try to ask the question believing that I have not
你
read
应该不能
through the information from the U.S. website on Ukraine. If you read it carefully,
国防部资助
you will see
的内容。
that there are programs sponsored by the U.S. Department of Defense.
Just one other question. So you have actually looked at the documents on that website. So some of them are not
我
deleted.
我确实看过一
I
些
did
在
read
网上
the information from the website.
下一个问题。
Next question, please.
Thank you. Question from Cybersecurity regarding return of international students. According to some reports, Chinese embassy in Islamabad has issued visas to Pakistani students this month. Can you please confirm this and how many such visas have been issued and what is the procedure for selecting these students and what are the procedures which they have to follow while coming to China? Thank you.
我知道你十分关心印度
I know you are very concerned about the
反华复学的事情。
students
多次就此呢
returned from India, and I know you have asked this question
包括印度留学生
for quite a number of times
国际留学
in this press release, and we
早日反华复学的迫切心情。
are aware of this situation. We understand
当前
how the desperately want to return to China and to recover their study. But right now, we are still faced with a very serious situation of COVID-19. China has always attached great importance to welcoming international students into the country, and we have to pay close attention to COVID-19 prevention. We are following the COVID-19 situation worldwide, and we're making preparations in relevant aspects, and we are quickly resuming the study of international students in China. International students studying in China must also carefully observe the COVID-19 policies and measures in China.
中方采取这些合理必要的
Well, China is taking some reasonable and necessary policies.
保障所有
The purpose of
公民
which
外国
is to ensure the health and safety of Chinese citizens as well as
希望并相信这些能够
foreign
得到
students. We hope that you
下
can
一个问题
all understand these policies. Thank you. Next question.
好，请你继续提问。
Please follow up.
I mean, is there any general policy of China regarding international student return, like on what basis it issues visas to students from which country? So there is a little, lack of transparency or clarity in the policy. How is it decided? Like today also we have not denied this report of issuing visa to Pakistani students. So can you please give us a little more clarity on the policy front? I mean, thank you.
我刚才已经给你做了一些解释。
I already provided some
具体的内容
explanation of the policy. If you want to get to know the details of the policy,
再做详细的
I can obtain more specific information from competent authorities.
在确保防疫安全的前提
I said it very well that China is closely following the changing situation of COVID. And we are also looking into the situation, are currently making plans to resuming the study of some international students returning to China. This will take some time, but we are making plans. Thank you.
So, what are these needs? I mean, only few international students who said who have the need to return. So, what does this mean?
I think you are aware of the current situation of COVID. Right now, we have the Omicron variant, and that is raging the world. China is taking some reasonable and necessary COVID-19 measures, which are aimed at protecting the health and safety of Chinese citizens as well as international citizens living and studying in China. We will take into consideration the international students returning to China for their study and make graduate and scientific plans so as to provide them with support for their study back here in China. Next question, please. Any other questions? If there is no more questions, then this is the end of today's release. Thank you very much.